Welcome, everybody. We're glad you can be here. We've got a really exciting morning for you, including this first workshop today. We're very lucky to have Carla Gover with us. Carla grew up in Letcher County in Eastern Kentucky, where she was surrounded by the rich cultural traditions of the Appalachian mountain culture. She's an award-winning singer, songwriter, musician, dancer, storyteller, and teacher, and she's here to talk about branding basics for artists. Carla?
Thanks, Tamara. I'm super excited to be here. Strangely enough, if you had told 30-year ago me that I would be enthusiastically leading a workshop on branding or marketing or business or anything like that, I would have thought you were insane, because I'm an artist and I showed up here to be an artist. And I never really expected at first what was reluctant journey for me to learn how the business and marketing side of the arts works, and was kind of resentful to it gradually grew on me, and I enjoy it now. So I'm really excited to be able to hopefully share some of this enthusiasm for you and help with you and help you understand as creative people that it can be fun and that it's very rewarding. And also I just really love it when artists get paid. And one of my big missions in life is to help everyone be more creative, but especially to see artists kind of help break through that starving artist paradigm that is so common in our culture that we all buy into a little bit. So it's going to be a really quick presentation. I gave it initially to a group and it was longer, and we had time to sort of, brainstorm and give each other feedback. And you guys are going to have access to the slides afterwards. So forgive me if we don't take the time to stop and do that, but welcome. Thank you so much. Thanks to the Kentucky Arts Council, who has always supported my career as an artist and given me a lot of valuable training over the years. I'm really glad to be able to give it back. Should I just pop the slides up there now? I'm just going to assume that the answer.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So, like I said, I have been a self-employed artist for 30 years now, and I'm proud of that. I think that speaks for itself, but there have been a lot of ups and downs, and obviously, like so many artists and just human beings in general during the pandemic, I had to really kind of take stock of everything and sort of reinvent myself. But there has been a real silver lining for me in that one of the things that I did was I took something that I'd sort of been patching together for years, which is like knowledge of how to just market myself and put my art out there. And I really did a deep dive. So for 2 years now, I've been just completely nerding out on all things marketing and branding. There's a lot of different words, there's a lot of different terms, and we don't have time to get into them all. Marketing, messaging, branding, different styles of marketing, online, in person. Today we're going to focus on branding. I'll touch on a few other things, but I'm going to talk about the why, what is branding and why we need to do it as artists and the importance of it. So, sorry, get this on the road here. So I heard an interview with Dolly Parton recently and Barbara Walters. And Barbara Walters was, I don't know, she was kind of being aggressive and talking about hillbillies and stuff. And Dolly came out with this. She just said, showbiz is a joke. It's a money-making joke. I just always like telling jokes. Now, I realize that not everybody here probably is a performer or a musician. I know that we have some craftspeople, and I'm going to try to sort of be broad and not just, because what I'm saying, it truly applies to, it applies to anybody trying to do business, whether online or in person, but I've really geared it towards creatives. And as I was saying, marketing is something that I have come to really enjoy. And part of the reason that I can enjoy it now is that I have shifted the way that I think about it. I've come to understand it in a different way. So I want to offer you this takeaway from today. Marketing is just making friends. One of the ways that I discovered this is that during the pandemic, I created an online dance course, and I marketed it all over the world via Facebook ads and a Facebook group. And as I had all kinds of, shockingly, my program was flooded with people, and I was able to earn an income without any unemployment payments last year. It was really amazing. One of the things I noticed as the people were coming into my course is that they were just like people to be friends with. We had stuff in common and a lot of common interests, and they were really warm, and they were lifelong learners, and um, very similar to the people who had been coming out to see me in shows. And I realized that it's like making friends. When you're doing good marketing, it is just a way of attracting your people, finding your people, and bringing them to you. And we all like that. We all want to have a group and a community where we fit in. Most of us in the arts want to serve others. We want to make life better or more beautiful or more interesting for other people. And let's see what there's thing I was going to say about this. Well, anyway, marketing is making friends. It's a fun process. So that's our theme as we get started. So it would be helpful to start by talking about a branding, what a brand is. And I think that one of the reasons that we have resistance to marketing and sales is because we're all low-key traumatized by how much really sleazy, bad salesmanship we've been exposed to in our life. You know, the really super annoying commercials, the ones that prey on your weakness or your pain or your insecurity to try to get you to buy something, the ones that are just blatant capitalist nonsense. And so I think it's important to take a step back and realize we can put ourselves out there and shine our light and share our gifts with the world in a way that is not sleazy, in a way that is in keeping with our personal values and our personal mission and our personality, our style. That's a game changer, I think, when we realize that. And so a brand, it's how people perceive you. It's the public's perception of you. And sometimes we're able to present ourselves in a way that aligns with who we really are, but sometimes things can get in the way of that way we present ourselves, whether we just don't know how to do it or our website looks like it's from 2004. It's those first impressions kind of, or third impressions, that make a difference in how we're perceived. And so the more that we can be intentional about this and put some thought into it and create and prepare and present it in a way that's really us, the more we're going to seem like professionals, the more people are going to work with us, the more people are going to get excited about what we're offering. And a lot of artists, you'll hear the term personal brand. So, it would be possible to own a company that doesn't really reflect your personal brand. If you're selling ball bearings, it's not going to be super personal. People are just going to want to know that they're getting a good high quality ball bearing that's going to do what they need it to do. But when you're selling something whose primary purpose is to bring joy or beauty into someone's life, or to lift their spirits, or to be a beautiful, piece of jewelry or artwork or furnishing in their home, it does help to put some of your personality into the branding, because people are not just buying that chair, they're buying the story of how you go out in the woods and gather the materials to make it, or they're buying the story of how you take all your inspiration for your jewelry from the horses in the beautiful bluegrass country surrounding Lexington. I'm just making this stuff up, but it's important, I think, for most artists to have this personal brand and the brand story. Wait, I don't know why that slide appeared again, but I'm moving on. I must have hit the back button. So today we're just going to go through branding basics, do a little bit of brainstorming, and talk about the importance of what some people call an elevator pitch, or your caveman messaging. Okay, thank you. Branding basics. I love this quote, and it speaks to what we were saying. My high school art teacher told it to us. Salvador Dali was so uniquely himself, and he was such a character. And I believe that we all have something to share with the world. And part of our job as artists, we already do this as artists, right? We're used to putting ourselves out there. We're creating something that's personal for people to consume, and it's kind of scary. It brings up all of your, insecurities and your self-esteem issues, and you have to work through that in order to just be brave enough to put your art into the world. Marketing your art is just another level of that same bravery, because you're putting yourself out there even more, like, hey, buy my stuff. And it helps to think of, okay, I get to be myself. I just get to share it. So here are some good reasons why we want to brand. It definitely helps you to be more credible. It helps you to be recognizable. I'm a firm believer in making your branding consistent across platforms, whether it's your email signature or your Facebook page and your website and your Instagram. And this is something that you can slowly evolve your way to, but people start to associate when they see your images, your logo, your fonts, your colors with you. And it just makes you seem like you've got your stuff together, got your ish together, as they say. And it sets you apart. And this one, I didn't put the arrow next to it, but it encourages an emotional connection, because that's another thing we're doing when we're a personal brand. We're building relationships with people. We're hopefully creating super fans. There's a tenet in the business world that you only need 1,000 super fans. Any given artist needs 1,000 super fans to make a living in their art. And so I think one of the things, especially musicians face, but possibly in other fields, is that you're either, Dolly Parton, or you're a failure, either on all the big channels, or, you're flipping burgers. There's so many different ways to make a living with your art. And just having that one model of success it's not helpful. So, sorry, I lost my, I'm really excited. I lost my train of thought for a minute there. But it's very helpful to work on this branding, to have a recognizable brand. And especially that last one, for me, what I've noticed as I've gotten everything together and I appear more professional, as I feel more professional, and it helps me charge what I'm worth, because I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's hard for us, I think, as artists to charge, to increase our prices, or to charge what we're worth. It's kind of in the water that people expect to get things cheap or free. If you're producing a physical good, they're comparing it to something they can buy from China at Walmart. If you're creating music, now they're comparing it to what they can stream for free on the internet. And so it's a challenge, but I think branding is just one part of that, elevating our self-worth and making a cohesive presentation to the world. So every business has 3 stages, and branding and messaging it's the foundation. So before you can do effective marketing and sales, you have to have your branding in place. And if you want to get to the part where you're having lots of orders, you're getting lots of work, you're getting lots of shows and gigs, fulfilling that services and performances, you have to work backwards and have good marketing and sales. And for that, you need the branding and messaging. So it's really the cornerstone of everything that we do. And it's so much more than just, let's pick some colors and fonts, and now we have our brand. What the core of our brand is the values and the messaging behind the brand. What is it that we believe in? And even if you're creating a lamp, I believe there's kind of an energy behind all the art that we create. So whether or not it seems relevant, just bear with me for a minute, because I think having these brand pillars in place really helps with all the other aspects of our marketing that come after. So I just put down characteristics of a few great brands. They know their missions, and they have one. They have a mission statement. They know their audience. Now, you guys hopefully already, I don't know where you are on your journey as an artist. Maybe some of you are just getting started out. Maybe some of you have done a zillion fairs or festivals or performances, and uh, you can probably think of 3 or 4 people that personify your target audience or your target demographic. They are somebody that you need to take into account as you put your branding together. If you're marketing to 8-year-olds, you want primary colors and big fonts and clowns or rainbows, whatever, something that's fun. If you're marketing to women who need to de-stress, you're going to use soothing tones and calm looking fonts, and your brand is going to be everything peaceful and soothing. Like maybe you'd use a slide like the one I'm using with these flowers on it. And they know their values, which is what I was talking about. It helps you attract your people, because this isn't just about getting every client, every fan, every customer that comes down the pike. When we're putting our work into the world, we want to attract the people that we love to work with. We don't want the jerk who's going to complain and tell us they don't like our music or send back the art we make. We want to attract from the get-go the people that are aligned, that bring us joy just as much as we bring them joy. And so having these foundations in place help with that as well. A few more characteristics: clear vibe and personality, evocative visual identity. And again, many of you are artists. I know I have some visual artists in here. How much colors can evoke moods and emotions and connection. And because another thing that we do as artists, when we're creating art that people love and that people consume, and we have a nice website, or we present at festivals, we present at shows, you're creating a community as well. Because when the people that love your stuff meet each other, they have a connection. I've definitely noticed that in my classes or at my shows. There's kind of a community that develops around it. Like the one awesome, like super famous example of it in in the music world was the Deadheads. Everybody knows about the Deadheads. They created a whole community. I think Lady Gaga is really good at this. She calls them her little monsters. Her fans are her little monsters, and they have a community with each other. So you're helping to create a community. And consistency and clarity. So you want to make it easy for your people to find you. So Seth Godin he's a famous marketing guru. He has a blog and he has a bunch of books, and I enjoy listening to and reading him. But his basic definition of marketing is really simple. And I know marketing's not branding, but this is relevant, is that people like us do things like that. So that's another way that you can create community in your marketing. In my social media marketing, here's a quick example. I do not sell cast iron skillets, okay? But my whole vibe and everything I do, I'm an Appalachian musician and dancer. I have Appalachian flavor sprinkled through all my social media marketing because it's something I love, to share my culture that I grew up with. And every time I post anything about cast iron skillets or making cornbread in cast iron skillets, or just here's how you should never put soap on cast iron skillets, or you should never make cornbread unless you're baking it in a cast iron skillet, they have the most engagement of any of my social posts. And I'm not doing it to sell a cast iron skillet. I'm doing it because people like us, people that love Appalachian culture, care about our cast iron skillets. So not everything you do in your branding has to be directly related to the product or the service or the performance that you're selling. And that's something people get hung up on, especially when they start trying to think about, what to present on social media. So I think it's good to have a few, we'll talk more about it in a minute, but having a few little things sprinkled through your brand that just show your identity and help your people find you. Like, yes, I'm a cornbread making, banjo playing person that loves cast iron skillets too. I really like Carla's music. So brainstorming, if we had a longer workshop, we would break out into groups and give each other feedback. And I'm going to, as I said, you'll have access to these slides. You can start by picking some brand values. So in my brand, I even put them on my website. I have more than 3, but the 3 I put on my website are generosity, heritage, and fun. Because everything that I do has those 3 values sprinkled through it. And I elaborate, I put photos and I elaborate on why these are my brand values. But yours might be different, depending on what you're offering and what your personality is. So that's just something to think about, something for later. Brainstorming your brand values and thinking of ways to incorporate that throughout your branding. And that's going to also influence, like we were talking about, the color choices and the fonts and whatnot. Some of you might already have some of that branding in place. You might already have your fonts. You might already have your colors. And so, you can just think about, the aspects of how to put it into your content, into your social media, into your emails. Brand archetypes are another way to think about brands. You can find some quizzes online about this, but I just mentioned these because it helps some people to think about what you're putting out and what you're attracting. Since we don't have much time, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this slide, but excuse me, it's there for you. And I touched on this a minute ago. In any marketing exercise that you ever do, they're going to have you write down your ICA, your ideal customer avatar. You can spend as much or as little time on this as you want, but I do encourage you to think of 1 or 2 people right now that really, truly love what you do and have expressed it. And a lot of times for me, when I'm creating some of my branding, when I'm writing an email, when I'm creating an ad that I'm going to put on social media, I will think about that one person, or depending on what I'm making, there's a 42-year-old woman in Chicago that has just responded to everything I do. So I keep her in mind. She's an energy healer. She loves to sing and dance, but she's a beginner. She has 1 child. She loves cultural things. She's a lifelong learner. She likes to do homespun crafts and activities. She has a craft room, like those kinds of things. And I know that you guys can all probably think of somebody like that, like your super fan, the person that consumes everything that you put out there. Keeping those key fans in mind with our marketing, because if that one person likes us, probably another similar person is going to like us. And obviously, some of us have multiple, we're equally liked by, 30-year-old moms of toddlers and 20-year-old fitness people that are into fitness. I'm just making that up, but nobody has just one. But those are helpful things to think about. So this is something that is also often incorporated into branding, which is the idea of, why do you do this? This is a good thing that you can weave into your website, into your messaging, into your emails that you send out, which I really, really love having an email list. I'll mention that more in just a second, but this is one of the things that helps make you relatable. So when you're branding, when you are talking about your work in the world, whether you have an interview, maybe for the morning show because you're doing a craft fair later that day. If you're on somebody's podcast, I'd totally recommend doing that. When you speak about what you do, having certain stories that you can go back to, like why you got started, what your mission is, what you hope to achieve with it, and what kinds of transformations can the people that work with you or that listen to your music, or that how does what you do affect people's life? And it's a little different. A lot of the training that I've done during this pandemic has been geared towards people in the service industry. So I'm sort of taking it and applying it to an artist. And it's different than, I'm not a fitness coach who's going to help you lose 20 pounds in 2 months, So it's not exactly the same kind of transformation when you're just creating art. Maybe you're just going to help make somebody's life better by having a beautiful painting, or your music is something that helps them get through hard times. but we think about that change of state that people are going to have, and that's something that we continue to talk about in our messaging about our art. Because why do people consume art? Why do people buy music or songs or paintings? It's because they want to have a change of state. It's because they want to change how they feel. It's because art makes them feel something. And so we want to be able to articulate, put some thought into, and articulate what kinds of transformations our particular brand helps them have. So here are just a few ideas. Again, we're not going to stop and write them down because I'm marching through this. I don't know if you can see my face, but so these are some formulas for creating taglines for products and services that you offer. And taglines are helpful if you're creating a social media post, or if you just want to tell somebody really quickly what you do. So you can, number one is the vibe. So I tried to give a few examples. Eat fresh, that's Subway. That's just, you get the whole vibe. Eat fresh, it's going to be fresh food. Your tagline could be the result. Obviously, these are more like, finally overcome fatigue. I have one that's kind of a result that I use for my business. I say something like, let me help you find your yeehaw, or find your yeehaw, because whether I'm teaching a dance class or whether somebody's listening to my music, hopefully I'm helping them feel that enthusiasm for life. And then the differentiator, a tagline, you can put something with a superlative in it, the healthiest dog food ever baked, or something that sets you apart from other people. Anything that has an EST on the end of it is considered a superlative. You can make it like, what would it be? The dancingest music you'll hear. That'd be something like my granny would say, like if you were a dance band, an old time hillbilly dance band. So you can use humor, you can be cute, you can be clever, but don't let cleverness or cuteness interfere with clarity. You don't want people to be confused about what you're doing. So taglines are helpful. So you can return to this slide. This is another something you can be jotting down to work on later. What you want people to know about what you do. So I also use Party Like It's 1899. I use that a lot for my dance academy, and it's funny. It's a pop culture reference, and people kind of, they get what I'm saying. You're going to learn how to dance. You're going to learn how to dance in a real old timey way, like it's 1899. So, and I put that on merchandise, and I put it on marketing messages, advertising. This is another thing that's very helpful to me in social media. I just took a little screenshot of my Instagram feed there that kind of shows an example of what I'm saying. And it's what I was referring to earlier about the cast iron posts. I recommend creating a list of brand pillars. So this isn't your brand values. This isn't like, I believe in freedom and creativity. These are the themes that you're posting about. And this can be not just social media, but email and blogs and podcasts and videos and YouTube videos. Give people glimpses behind the scenes. If you're a dancer, you're in the dance studio. If you're a recording artist, you're showing the album you're recording, or picking on the back porch, or singing with your granny, or carving something in your studio, painting, show your paintbrushes. The why is what I talked about earlier, why you do what you do, how you got started, what was your inspiration. Telling little micro stories all the time, versions of that, it helps people connect with you. And you have to remember, you feel like you're repeating yourself. When you have good branding and good marketing, you feel like, oh my God, I've said this 1,000 times. But the nature of social media, and not as much email, which again, I'll mention that later. It's ephemeral, and it passes quickly, and only whenever you make a post, I don't know the current stats, but it's maybe 10% or less of people that are in your feed actually see that post. Less than 10%, I think. So even if you post the same thing the next day and the next day, it's still going to be different people seeing it at different points in time. I have encouragement, inspiration, and spirituality is one of my content pillars. Yours might be hunting and hunting dogs. This is my personal one, but and you'll have to figure out what your ideal clients and customers would relate to and resonate with. I have the about me, that's pretty self explanatory. Benefits of working with me, or benefits of my art, or benefits of my music, benefits of taking my dance class. That's going to be different in every scenario, but that's a good category to use. Showcase your products and services. That's really obvious if you're a producer of physical art. Or if you write songs, you can do posts about your songs. You can do posts about the stories behind your songs, emails behind your songs. I have a friend who's a songwriter, and whenever she releases a new album, she does an email series about the whole album, like 12 emails, and each email has a link to the Spotify place you can listen to the song, and also it has the story behind the song, and it's super interesting. So there's so many creative ways that you can showcase what you do, and that's just another content idea. Personal insights, or your thoughts on your deep thoughts about the universe in whatever way you like to think about it. I have quotes. I use quotes by other artists, by Appalachians, quotes from my own songs, and then of course that Appalachian food, folklore, language, and people is very important content pillar for me. So I put it cornbread granny with granny wisdom, mountain talk, and I put my kids sometimes because that's a relatability post. So the other thing that I would just point out about this page before we move on is some posts you want people to relate to you. Some of them you want to be positioning yourself as the expert or the creator or the maker, the one that knows what you're talking about. Identity, that's where like the cast iron skillets or the coon dogs come in. And then just your own personality. Like if you really love walking in the woods, you might post a lot of pictures of from your woods walks. So you can really get creative with this. You can really have fun, but it's something that you want to be intentional about. Okay, I got to all right. I'm trying to finish up in 3 minutes so that we can have a Q&A session. So this is what people sometimes call an elevator speech or caveman messaging. And this would be like if you're just going to come up with something for your branding, I would say come up with some brand values, some brand content pillars, and then this caveman message. So for one change that I made to dial into my message a little bit more is that I wrote my about page, my bio, in first person. My bio had always been really boring, like Carla Gover is an award-winning songwriter, blah, 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 boring, boring, boring. So I wrote it from first person, like, hey, I'm Carla, and come up on my porch. And if you want to go to my website and see, I've been working on it. It's still not 100% there, but I'm really happy with some of the branding that I've been able to do. It's carlagover.com. And you might get some ideas from that. So super fast, there's several more slides. So this is a formula that you can come back to and use. If you want to come up with that messaging, it's good to put that what you do and who you help right at the beginning of your website, or right at the beginning of your social media bio, like your Instagram bio or your Facebook bio. So I put a couple examples here, and then I put the one from my website. I'm a Kentucky dancer and musician with cornbread in my skillet and a song in my heart. I share flat-footing ballads and banjo with lovers of Appalachian culture everywhere. Let me help you find your yeehaw. Now that's longer than you'd want to use on Instagram or something, but that worked for my website. So this is something you can come back to and work on that that branding by message. Now, just briefly, I'm going to touch on what most people, when they think of branding, this is what they think of. They just think of the mood board. This is called a mood board. I do recommend starting out with this. I use the heck out of Canva, Canva. It's a design program that I made this for my friend who's a writer. She needed a mood board and some branding help and didn't want to hire somebody. So as a birthday present, I made this for her. And so once you have this mood board, you get your fonts, you get a couple patterns, you get the colors. And these actually, in Canva, I don't know if you can see my pointer here. On the little swatches, it has the hex codes, so you can take that hex code and put it into other designs and have everything match. Again, with that consistency that makes us appear more professional. So here's one thing we did. Once you have the mood board, you can make this is a Facebook cover page, so that anytime somebody comes to visit her on Facebook, they know she's an author. You can make, this is some examples of my mood board, and there's a Facebook banner page. There is, I have branded Instagram posts that I make, and it's in Canva. It's super simple. I just go in and on that Instagram post in Canva and rework my message of the day or my quote or my testimonial, slap it up there. Once you make it once, you can use it over and over again. And then even things like, if you want to, I put my Instagram there at Kentucky Carla. I have these Instagram highlight stickers I use so that I can save my best Instagram posts in little groupings on there. Some of you may have them, but if you don't, they're a really good thing to use on Instagram. And I will tell you, I mainly just do Instagram and Facebook because I have a lot of people on those two platforms. I haven't busted into the TikTok world, but we're still trying to focus on branding here. So here's some things that you can use your branding for. Banners, social media posts, blog headers, your About Me page, your Instagram highlights. I put email signature twice, but that's because email is the most important thing. So this is just a recap. Contemplate your audience, select your brand values, come up with some taglines, come up with your Caveman messaging, create a mood board, and create your content pillars. This is a QR code to a document that I put together about email marketing. This is the second most important thing. No, this is the most important thing I'm telling you today. The email list is where it's at. The reason I have been able to be a self-employed artist for 30 years is because I have always had an email list, which I started in 1998. And it has enabled me to make a living during the pandemic. It has enabled me to crowdfund all of my CDs since way back then, since my recording projects, since before crowdfunding was even a thing. That QR code will take you to where you can get that. And also, if you're interested, I do have a coaching group that's starting up. Why is this slide here? Sorry, this is, before I tell you about the coaching group, the strategy that I really like to employ, you focus on that long form content. And then you take a piece of long form content and you break it down into a bunch of smaller pieces of content, social posts. I really, this is a longer workshop than we had time for, and I do want the Q&A. But I am starting a group coaching. It'll start next week. It's going to be very do at your own pace. We will have some lives together, and I'm starting this just because so many people have approached me recently about it, and it's going to be really fun. I am just going to do it for women this time because I have a lot of women that approach me. So apologies to the gentlemen. If you're interested, you can holler and let me know. But if you scan that QR code or get it later out of the slides, it will take you to just a place where you can read more about what we're going to be doing in that group. Those are some of the topics. Again, you can come back and reference this later, but these are some of the things we're going to work on together. If you really want to work on getting all this stuff that I've been talking about together, we're going to do it in a group. And I'm also offering one scholarship to that too. So why don't we open it up for some Q&A? And I could probably stop sharing for this, actually.
Thank you, Carla. I do have a question for you.
Yes.
From me, I remember you and I have known each other forever.
Yes.
And I will say that I felt like when you launched your new e-newsletter, I got to know you in a way I'd never known you before. And I really look forward to getting those e-newsletters because they are so personal and it makes me feel like you've invited me in to be a part of your life. And I wondered, when did you decide to make that change and how did that become your approach to it?
That's a great question. And thank you for saying that. That means a lot to me. I, I've always had an email list, but it's been really like mostly people I've gathered at shows. It's been really haphazard, and like I might be. Oh wait, there have been times that I haven't emailed my list for 6 months, and I've had thousands of people on my list for quite a while. Um, but right at the beginning of the pandemic, I panicked. Of course, we all did, and I was like, "What the heck am I going to do?" And I just thought a lot, for a couple of weeks, and I was like, the one thing that has enabled me to have a career this long is that I really have worked on having relationships with my fans, and that's something I can do that Lady Gaga can't do as easily because I'm a smaller artist, and so it's kind of I realized that email was the best way to do that because social media, it disappears. Email, people get it, it gets delivered. I mean, occasionally it goes to spam, but if you work, there are ways you can work on your deliverability rate, and people receive it, and you're able to connect with them personally and take it to a one-on-one relationship. And so it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. I committed to creating one email a week. Now, I haven't always been completely consistent, but now I really have ramped up to that. I send one email a week. Some of them are long, some of them are shorter because I try to appeal to different personality styles in different emails. Because some people want to read long ones, some people just want just the facts, ma'am. I think email marketing is the most important thing you can do as an artist. 1,000, 1,000,000%. It is so crucial. And learning how to be personal, and I don't share more than I'm comfortable with. I don't want to, there's certain things I don't share, but there's some things I do, and I want to connect with people. And it's been really amazing. I've connected with people all over the world, and I feel like I've truly developed relationships, deepened relationships with people I already knew, but also created relationships with people, with randos off the internet who are now like friends and super fans.
I will say that I hold on to many of your e-newsletters, and I have pulled out your grandmother's cornbread recipe, and I intend to try it once I get my mother's recipe sorted, but I'm very excited about that.
Oh, awesome.
Can you tell us a little bit about you mentioned it, the class you have coming up? How can people register for that?
I put the QR code it's just a document, and the registration links for people that want to read more about it. I put it.
You have that on your website? I'm sorry.
That's the thing with a new website. I haven't figured out how to put. Where's the easiest place to go? There's a link in my Instagram bio. I can get it right now and put it in the chat.
Okay, great. And if you're looking at the chat, Carla's website address is there. And we also have a link to this presentation so that you can have the slides to review as you have time. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. We are going to wrap up in just a couple of minutes, though.
Yeah, hit me with the questions, and we'll definitely be going way into the email marketing in the coaching group, and also it's just to help people get all this branding basics in place, because it's a lot, and it's a lot to think about, and you feel like you're reinventing the wheel. And so my intention was to help people not have to reinvent the wheel, and to give actionable steps every week that people can do, little homework assignments, so that by the end of it, you have what you need in place, filtered through the lens of an artist. Because there's a lot of help that you can find on the internet, but it's like geared towards salespeople and coaches and, like nail techs and stuff. And so I wanted to do something that would be helpful to artists. How do you collect email signatories? I have always, in the past, this is a great question, I've always collected them in person. And that was the only way I collected email for years. And during the pandemic, when we couldn't do live shows, it's the first time I've really dived in to collecting them online. So there's a few things. Number one is if you do any kind of social media posts, this is a way to think about social media, guys. Every single social media post you make should in some way be driving people back to your email list, or at least most of them. You know, blah, 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 called, here's a cute story. If you want to hear more stories like this, go to the link in my bio and get on my email list. So much of what I do in social media is driving people to my email list online. And I also there are these things called landing pages that you can do. I run Facebook ads. Like when I do, for instance, I'll do like a $27 workshop on dance, and I'll run a Facebook ad to it. And when people sign up, that I capture their email list, and then I put a little tag on it in my email system. And that way I keep track of everybody I know that's interested in dance. And when I go to send an email, I can click tag everybody that is interested in dance, and I can segment my emails and make them more customized and more personalized. I don't know how to keep addresses confidential on a sign-up sheet at a live show, but it's all confidential. If somebody just comes to my website. I do have a sign-up button on my website. I give away a freebie, and pop-up boxes are a little obnoxious, but daggone it, they really work. So if you like money, you should try one of those. And if you want to see how one works, and I don't think it's too obnoxious, again, go to my website and you'll see it. So thank you so much for having me.